So in this tutorial we are going to learn about inheritance in C++. So first of all, let me tell you what is the meaning of inheritance. So let's suppose that there is a parent class or a base class. And there is another class which we can call as a subclass. So the very basic meaning of inheritance is that let's suppose there is a parent. So the parent will have one or more children. So let's suppose this parent has only one child. So in inheritance, this child will inherit properties from the parents. So the child inherits properties from the parents. So this is the general example of what is inheritance. We have seen inheritance in real world life. So this is a real world concept, and we know that inheritance is a concept of object oriented programming. So this is a OOPS concept. So in real world, if there is a parent and the parent has a child, so the child will inherit properties from the parent and will also have some additional properties and will also have some other properties as well. So we know that parent has some properties, and the child will inherit some of the parent properties and will also have some of the properties of its own. So this type of inheritance is known as single level inheritance. Single level inheritance, because there is only one parent and only one child, and the child is inheriting the properties from the parent and will have some additional properties of its own. So let's now apply this real world inheritance concept to our classes, which is an OOPS concept. So let's suppose there is a class. So let's suppose this is a class and it has some properties and behavior. So let's suppose this is our class, and let's suppose this is the parent class. So in C++ we will refer parent class as the base class, and we will refer the child class as subclass. So we know that if this is a base class, so the subclass will inherit some or all of the properties of the base class. So it will inherit some of the properties from this base class. Let's suppose this base class has some properties and behavior. So I will write some variables here, int a comma int b, and let's suppose there is a function, int x function, let's say. So the subclass can inherit some or all of these variables in its own class. So this is the first thing. So it can inherit some or all of the class. So let's suppose this base class, or this is the base class and this is the subclass. So subclass has inherited properties. Let's suppose only a and this function also. So subclass can inherit properties, only some of the properties, or it can even inherit all of these properties. And second thing is, this subclass can have its own functions too and its own variables too. So let me just extend this subclass. So this subclass will also have its own variables, let's suppose int c, and some functions like int y. So in this way we are applying our inheritance concept in classes. So inheritance are of 4 types. Number 1 is the single level inheritance. Number 2, single level inheritance is, it looks like this. There is a parent class and then there is a child class, and the subclass inherits properties from only one base class. So there is one base class and one subclass. So there is another type of inheritance known as multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance. In multiple inheritance, a subclass inherits properties from multiple base classes. So a subclass inherits from multiple base classes. From multiple base classes. So this time there is only one child, but now we are applying this concept to C++, so we will refer this child as subclass. So there is only one subclass, and this subclass is inheriting properties of let's suppose 2 base classes. So this is base class 1 and similarly base class 2. So there are 2 base classes in multiple inheritance, and our derived class will derive properties from these base classes. That's why it is known as multiple inheritance. Next one is multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. And in multi-level inheritance, a subclass inherits from a class that itself inherits from another class. So it's like levels. Let's say there is a base class X and there is a subclass Y, and Y is inheriting properties from X. So let's suppose this is the base class and this is the subclass. So this is single level inheritance, and for multi-level there will be another class Z that is inheriting properties from the Y class. So for the Z class, or I should say for the Z subclass, Y will be the base class. So this is a form of multi-level inheritance. Next type is known as hybrid, and in hybrid inheritance we will combine any 2 form of inheritance or even more. So if we are combining let's say multiple and multi-level inheritance, let me give an example of a hybrid inheritance. So let's suppose there is a base class A, then there is another base class B and another base class C. So these all are base classes, and now there is a class D which is inheriting properties from A, B and C. Not only properties, it will also inherit functions also. So this subclass D will inherit properties and behavior from these 3 base classes. So this form of inheritance is multiple inheritance, but if there are another 2 classes E and F which are inheriting properties from D. So now these have become subclasses, and now they are inheriting properties from D. This whole inheritance is a multi-level inheritance. So you can see that hybrid inheritance is a combination of two forms of inheritance.